You are watching Afromedia, Canada. I'm Seede from Ottawa City, the Canadian federal capital. I'm very honored to be in the very special interview with Dr. Gemal Seede, an author, a filmmaker, and professional IT engineer. Dr. Gemal, welcome to the show. We'll start just after a very short break. After your permission, just short break, and then we'll start right away.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
Ready to be inspired by the amazing stories of best-selling authors and filmmakers? Afromedia offers an engaging media platform so you can begin your journey today. Explore our website now and let yourself be moved by the incredible tales of these incredible creatives.
Welcome again, Mr. Dr. Gemal, to the show. How should I call you? Professor, doctor, engineer, filmmaker, producer, what? Writer, author?
Call me Gemal. It's good enough.
Yeah, a lot of modesty. Thank you so much for that. First question, please. Why did you decide to pursue a career in this very special field, Dr. Gemal?
When I was working in the Middle East, I'd go on hiking trips with young Muslims and non-Muslims. And I was quite surprised at the level of misunderstanding about the role of Islam in people's lives and the role of the science. So I felt that I needed to do some things to clarify. So I started with children's books, and I also did a science fiction movie, and now I have a YouTube blog on Islam and science. So it's just my way of sharing the things that I've learned over my life with the younger people.
Just a little experience for sharing. That's how you call it. Great. Thank you so much. Your skill set for success in this field was developed how?
Okay. I started my first foray into media was about 18 years ago. I commissioned a screenplay for a science fiction movie to be done. And then I found a couple of young people who looked really talented, and so I hired them. And so we created a short. It's a 30-minute science fiction movie. And just by getting involved and doing it, I learned a lot. I attended film festivals and some sessions, and I also took some screenplay writing courses. I took screenplay writing courses for about 4 years. And so in this way, I honed the skills of how to do storytelling. But I started transferring some of that like online media and visual media skills into writing children's stories, because I wanted to write a novel, but I didn't want to jump into a novel and then have it not be successful. So I thought that I would start off with some children's picture books, and then I created the Chug and Thug series of children's books. It's for children 3 to 8 years of age. They are like Dr. Seuss, but they have more of an obvious moral to the story. They're rhyming. They're very beautifully illustrated. And then from that, I wrote a feature-length screenplay, which I'm hoping to produce within the next 2 years. It's a fantasy adventure screenplay. And so, between these two, writing screenplays and writing stories and working on a novel, I decided to do some short, science and Islam documentary style episodes on YouTube.
That's great. A lot of work. Let me have a short break with a short presentation of your brilliant work, please.
In addition to being an author and filmmaker, Gemal Seede is an information technology professional living in Lasalle, Ontario, Canada. He studied Islamic studies at the American Islamic College in Chicago, and media and film at the University of Windsor. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in Biochemical Engineering and a Master's degree in Business Administration, as well as a Master of Science and a Doctoral degree in Information Science. Seede has a passion for writing and producing value-rich stories. In 1992, he produced the world's first computer-generated Islamic cartoon entitled Kindness to Animals. In 2005, he produced the Islamic world's first high-production value science fiction film entitled Alliance, 30-minute a short film that earned several festival awards. Between 2018 and 2022, he wrote and published a series of highly acclaimed children's picture books entitled Chug and Thug. He is currently writing, adapting an action-adventure novel entitled The Legend of Hal, which is based on a screenplay he wrote by the same name. Seede writes and produces the Dr. G Science Show, a YouTube channel dedicated to reflecting on the intersection of the Quran and the latest scientific understanding.
That's a lot of work. Let me ask you, please, congratulations on those great actions you're leading. Please, how have you overcome challenges in your career, especially this very complicated academic, scientific, technical, and religious fields at the same time?
Well, that's the nature of life, to have challenges. This, that's the whole meaning of jihad. The jihad is the struggle against the obstacles that you face. And so, yes, of course, there's been several. Sometimes, the issue is, do I know what I'm doing, and how the learning curve in getting involved in something, and it seems steep. And of course, we want to have the quality of the work that we do be on par, if not better, than what people are used to and watching on TV or a book from the bookstore. So, but to get there, it takes practice, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, and reading the theory on it. And as I saw one of the slides that you put up, I did take, in order to prepare myself for better quality, video and filmmaking, I enrolled myself in the undergraduate program at the University of Windsor in the communication, media, and film for 1.5 years. I did studies there for 1.5 years just to understand how to be a better filmmaker. So yeah, we have to, part of it is the learning and the experience. And I'm pretty much a one-man shop, so I have to do everything. I don't really rely on anybody else for any type of technical assistance. So you end up having to be as they say, a jack of all trades.
But you are the best of all, best in all of them, so, which is very rare. That will lead me to another question. In this technical different field that you are leading and succeeding in, what makes you unique?
The one thing is that I did have some formal Islamic studies, training. I studied for 2 years at the American Islamic College. I was just shy of getting a bachelor's degree. Then I had to move on and do something else. So having that background really helped me have clarity in the message that I want to say. So that's one thing. And then, I was a IT manager, like a senior executive for several companies in the past. About 12 of the 35 years of experience that I've had was in the entertainment industry. I worked for Disney for a number of years. I worked for Warner Brothers. And just being in the media sector in Los Angeles, exposed me to some really talented people, and people that I can, that I got to know and I learned from. So I think the experience in the entertainment industry, the Islamic studies background, and I guess more recently the Quran and Islam, the Islam and Science YouTube channels have benefited from I have a biochemical engineering undergraduate degree, so the science behind it is a bit easier for me to kind of digest and understand. So that's helped a lot too when I'm doing those the Science and Islam YouTube series.
That's great. We hope that we'll have a chance to translate some of those series into Arabic as well. Do you stay on top of industry trends and technologies?
I do try. Like the thing that I'm right now very very intrigued with, and I've done some experiments with, is virtual production. This idea that you can film yourself in front of like basically a very large computer monitor, and then the camera that's tracking you will the background on the video monitor will actually change as the real camera actually moves. So it makes it look so incredibly realistic. It makes it look like you are actually in a place where you're not. But the nice thing about the virtual production is that the actor or the person being interviewed or whoever's on the screen can actually see the environment and react to it, instead of having to imagine what they would do in post. So yeah, virtual production is the thing that I'm intrigued with right now, and I'm playing a lot with.
Great. Would you give advice to someone starting out in this great technical field, the virtual production?
There's almost all the tools are freely downloadable software. So if you have a computer, you do need to have a computer with a reasonably good video graphics card. But yes, if you've got a computer, or if you have access to one, you can download the software, and there's a lot of free, tutorials online. You can really learn this, and I think it's a really amazing field. So somebody who put in a lot of effort and learned what they were doing, they would I think easily get picked up to, by some of the virtual production studios out there. So yeah, I think it's a great thing to go into. But I think before I would get into anything technical, if somebody was starting out from zero and didn't know anything about storytelling, I would start with the process of how to do a story. There's some fundamentals in storytelling, because the main idea is that you're telling a story visually, but the underlying story still has to be of good quality. You have to have something to say, and you have to structure it in a way that's going to translate into the visual medium. So I would start, to tell you the truth, before I got into any technology, I would start with understanding how to tell a story. And then again, there's a lot of websites that have free material on how to do that.
So it's all start with telling the story first, and then going to the technology to download the most important software that you are going to use for the virtual reality and virtual production.
Yes, I think so. That way you're saying something worthwhile. It's not just visual effects.
Yeah, complete virtual reality that is semi-reality, or trying to be as real as it could be. Thank you so much for that. And what was the best advice you received ever at your own personal or professional level?
Well, you put a lot of work into your projects, and you want it to be perfect, and it's like your baby. So so I guess maybe there are two things that I would say, not just one. The two things are that you have to be able to listen to critique and not take offense when somebody tells you that things can be improved. You just thank them, jot down what they're saying, and then think about it later. And if maybe a few people say the same thing, you should probably listen to them. So the main thing is to not if somebody gives you some critique, don't argue with them. Just thank them, take down what they say, and think about it. At the end, it's your decision whether you want to make changes in the work that you're doing. So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing is you also have to know when to quit.
So not very soon. After a century.
I don't mean quit the project. I mean, every time you do a project, you want it to be perfect. But if you continue just tinkering, you're never going to actually, publish it. So there comes a time where it's good enough to abandon and then move the project.
Yeah. As a therapy by itself. Okay. And this is very important, especially in the Arab culture, that they don't like to be any critique at all. And when you critique anyone, they don't think that you are criticizing the idea for improvement. They take it very personal, at very personal level, and an offense even, and then they think of you as an enemy just because you tell them maybe something very good for them, but they don't want it.
I know but I don't think it's just the Arab world. I think it's a human nature
Oh,
thing.
really? You have
Yeah,
seen it everywhere then. You
I-
are the international traveler.
yes, it's hard to, especially in your first one or two projects. You tie so much of your self-worth into that first, second, third project that it's hard to hear critique, but it's absolutely necessary if you want to improve. So there's just no way about it. If you don't learn how to take critique,
Mhm.
and as I said, the thing to do is just thank the person, thank them. That person thought about what you did and wanted to contribute. So just thank them and then move on. You don't have to feel offended or anything like that.
Great. So far, what has been the most important or most rewarding experience of your technical field and career and project so far, at least?
Most rewarding.
Yep.
Um,
Experience.
the the short film alliance, when we released it, normally when you have a short film, there's a procedure for submitting it to film festivals. You try to get into the best festivals first, and then you go to secondary tier festivals, but I didn't know that. I submitted, and then I just went to the very first festival that accepted me, which was the movie has some Arab and Islamic elements to it. It's a science fiction. It's set in the future, but you see Muslims praying, and the names of some of the characters are Arabic names. So and this film festival took place about a year after 9/11. I'm sorry, no, it was maybe 3 years after 9/11. And the film festival that I went to happened to be in the Bible Belt of the United States. So,
Again.
so
So
I was,
that's the best advertising.
I was really, I didn't know this. I didn't know where I was going. I went to the film festival. It was in Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there on Sunday morning, and I had attended the festival for the last 2 days, and every screening was packed with people. But Sunday morning, nobody was in any of the screenings, so they were completely empty. And then my show was going to come up in the afternoon, just in the early afternoon. So I asked the attendants, is anybody going to show up for my movie? Like, there's nobody here. And they said, no, everybody's in church.
Mm.
They'll be here. If your movie's at 1, everybody will be here. So sure enough, I had a packed audience of church-going Christians, and I've got this video that portrays Islam in a very positive way, and I had no idea how they were going to react. But subhanAllah, at the end of the movie, they gave me a standing ovation, and that was the first standing ovation that I'd seen in the whole film festival.
Wow.
And the questions that I was getting, they were so interested and so curious and very, encouraging and, congratulating me. And they asked, one of the questions that I will never forget, they asked me, have I taken this film to the Middle East so that people in the Middle East know that a Muslim can make a film like this in America, and that Americans don't hate Muslims.
Wow.
That I had taken this. At that time, I hadn't taken it yet, but about 3 months later, we got an invitation to the Dubai International Film Festival, and we showed it there. And again, it was really well received. And basically, the Dubai Film Festival used the video clips from our movie to advertise their festival. The video clips from my movie was the way that they advertised the festival itself. And at the end of that, in the question and answer period, I got one question which said, somebody asked, have you shown this movie in America so that they know that Muslims are good and that, we don't hate them?
Great.
Got the same question from two sides of the planet, both concerned that the other side is not perceiving the other side correctly. Like everybody wanted to know that we were not enemies to each other. Because that was, I think, the most rewarding thing that
Very interesting. And in the opposite, to put it in the different, in the contrary, what has been your most challenging experience?
It's just the length of time that it takes to do something well, and without a lot of without a huge studio behind you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It just takes a lot of time to do something well. So we do what we do with the resources that we've got, and I thank God every day that I have the resources that I have, because I have some things that perhaps many other people don't have, but I would like to go faster and do produce more content, but this is where we are right now.
Thank you. In your technical field with Dr. Gemal, what skills are most important for success?
I think a curiosity, like, it's not a skill, I guess, but usually you really have to be curious and you have to be patient, because when you learn something for the first time, it's not going to work correctly. There's going to be a lot of holes in your knowledge, and you have to be willing to keep plugging away at it. And because it takes a few tries before you start developing expertise in any one area. So it's really be curious and be patient.
Great. Dr. Gemal, thank you so much for all this great insight and inputs. Can you predict future trends or development in virtual reality and virtual productions, please?
I've played around a lot with virtual reality, but I'm still not really quite sure about the future there. It seems to be really fun for gaming and things like that, but as long as you can't really see your environment, there's always going to be these safety issues, like, are you going to trip over the couch or something like that? Or with virtual reality, I think like augmented reality, where you see things on top of the reality, that's probably got more of a future right now. But what I was talking about earlier, virtual production, I think that has the potential to really revolutionize filmmaking in many ways, because you right now the process of filmmaking is very serial. You write something and then you storyboard it, and you cast people and you film it. If you don't like it, you have to go back and refilm it. So it's very linear. But with virtual production, it gives you the ability to see immediately what you're going to get. You don't have to wait until after the post-production people get through to see whether something works or not. You can see it immediately. And so I think the filmmakers are going to have this ability to see what they're filming right away, and they say, no, let's change this now. And so you get a more experimentation. So I think it's going to really open up. It's going to lower costs. Eventually it'll lower costs. Right now the equipment for creating a virtual production studio is somewhat high, but in the end it will lower the length of time that it takes to actually make a movie, particularly with special effects, and the quality will be better.
Great. Let me get back in history to your first production, the world's first computer-generated Islamic cartoon entitled Kindness to Animals. What was the message and the theme there that you want to share with the world?
Oh, okay. So this was back in 1992. Really the big studios hadn't even actually even thought about using computers for doing any kind of animation. This was a traditional 2D cartoon animation, and I got some software and some equipment for recording, for actually creating a cartoon on the computer and then rendering it to tape, and then obviously the audio and that sort of thing to layer that on top of it. And so the idea that I thought about was, there's a hadith about of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in which he related a thirsty man in a desert, and he was about to die, and then he found a well, and he climbed into the well and drank, and then came out, and when he exited the well, he saw a dog dying of thirst. So he went back into the well and he filled his shoe with water, and then brought it up and let the dog drink, and then God forgave him all of his sins. So the cartoon that I did was about that hadith. It's framed. It was framed in modern times with a modern boy about to do something cruel to a dog, and his father stops him, and then the father tells him, hey, like this is a hadith of the Prophet. So the child learns a lesson from the hadith.
Great. Let me get back you to 2005 when you produced the Islamic world's first high production value science fiction film entitled Aliens. 30 minutes, a short film that earned several festival awards. How long does it take you to produce that 30 minutes? And what was the initial idea that came to your mind that you want to produce this Aliens? And what is the Alliance is communicating to the essence core message of the Alliance, please?
Okay, so it took 3.5 years to.
Wow, 3.5 years to produce 30 minutes.
Yes, if you
That's
saw,
amazing.
Know why there's hundreds of people that were involved in making it, and the message was basically that small good deeds can have significant positive consequences. So the main character, in the story, the Earth is being attacked by aliens, and they don't have a way out. And there's a female Muslim scientist wants to go on a very major journey. She wants to have a lot of resources, and she wants to see if she can help save the Earth. And then her mission is scaled back dramatically, and in the process of she ends up actually helping to save the Earth, but even with her small mission. And then inside of this, that story, she learns the story of the aliens, and the aliens also have a similar story where small good deeds transform their whole society. So that's the idea behind that.
Great. Okay, let me take you to one of your best work on YouTube. Dr. Gemal, you wrote and you produce the Dr. G Science Show on YouTube channel dedicated to reflecting on the intersection of the Quran and the latest scientific understanding. What was that intersection, and what's the key message there that is complicated and that you want to simplify to the layman everywhere in the world, please?
Well, I think one of the things that I found when I was going on those hikes, I mentioned them earlier, like I would go on hikes with in mountains and nature with a lot of young people. And so I would hear sometimes, I don't believe in a religion, I believe in science. And so one of the messages that I have in this series is that really the science and religion answer two different questions. Like scientific laws answer the question about what is happening, and scientific theories answer how it's happening. But religion and philosophy answer why it's happening. And so they don't really conflict, because they're actually talking about completely different things. However, the beauty of the Quran is that it often talks about natural things, like the creation of the earth and the creation of the skies, and it talks about these things. So it's nice to take what the Quran is saying and then measure it against what we currently understand in science. Because if you're a believing Muslim, you know that the verses of the Quran are ayat. Ayat means they're signs of God. But the signs of God are also everywhere in nature. So I don't feel, that there isn't it's almost like there's no real superiority between one ayah and another ayah. The sign of God in the Quran is not superior to the sign of God in nature. They're both God's creation. They're both there to guide us and bring us closer to God. So it's very important to reflect on both of them. And the beauty of the Quran is that it's in perfect harmony. It's amazingly perfect harmony with what we understand about science. Particularly the things that we know fairly well. You can never know in science. The one thing that you can say, you can never know for sure whether you've got the final answer, because the final answer always changes a bit. But there's some things that we know fairly certain, and those things are perfectly reflected in the Quran. So, and that's what I'm trying to show.
And what are the convictions and the main findings that convince you in this scientific and technical finding to get closer to God and to know this is the right path?
It's not just one. It's just when every time you come across something and then you
The
see
most
it.
concrete example that people can associate with in their daily scientific world, please.
Okay, so I can tell you, like, my second video that I did is on Surat al-Alaq.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I looked at is, why is it that the many translations of the Quran in English, they don't seem to define alaq the same way? There are 5 different explanations for what alaq is. Like, how is it that they're all getting it, have a different explanation? So I looked at traditional tafsir, and they don't even touch the subject. It's basically what they call asbab al-nuzul. It's the circumstances of the revelation before, and then during, and then after the first revelation of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So they don't touch the meaning of alaq. So I started to do an analysis on it, and what I believe alaq is DNA, because if you look at the meaning of the root word for alaq, like the 3-letter root of the words, they mean like a temporary. It's a temporary joining or intertwining of things. Temporary. It's not permanent. And DNA is like that. The alaq is what the human species was made from. Well, DNA is like that too. And then, if you look at that it's a temporary binding, DNA splits apart and it comes back together again. So it's also a temporary binding, like alaq is. And then finally, we've now, understood, when you look at the context of the Quran, the ayah before and the ayah after, out of the 5 ayat that were revealed at one time, 4 of the 5 ayat talk about reading and knowledge acquisition. Like that we learned from the pen, that read in the name of your Lord, the reading, understanding for the benefit of mankind, and then instruments of learning. It's all the 4 ayat are talking about decoding symbols, and what does DNA? It's a code that you need to decode for the benefit of mankind. So it's just, if a person didn't know these first 5 ayat were written 1400 years ago, and they were asked to basically translate and figure out what alaq means, I'm fairly certain that the majority of college students would at least say that it must be DNA, because it's something that's temporary binding. It's the source of human species, and it's something that you decode, and that's what the context of the surah is. So my hypothesis is that another meaning for the word alaq is DNA.
Great. Thank you so much. Let me take a question from the screen from Mr. Dami saying, do you have help from people or organization or Islamic organization or American at all?
I have some contacts with some really beautiful people at the islamicity.org, and they have distributed my videos. Apart from that, the YouTube videos are posted on their websites, and it helps, alhamdulillah, a tremendous amount to drive traffic to the site. But apart from that, I don't really have any backing. It's basically myself and backed with the organization that I created.
Unfortunately, from our professor and sister Zaina Yassin, would advertising for you work or help?
Oh yes, I think it would help, and I was planning to do that, but I'm waiting to have more content. It's because it's sort of like advertising for McDonald's. If McDonald's only had French fries, you could advertise, but like the people would come, but they may not really buy anything. So I'm basically trying to get maybe 6 to 8 Islamic videos before I engage in advertising for the channel.
Thank you so much. And what is your final word to the youth first, Islamic youth, to be engaged in technology and learn the best way they can? Or your final word to the world, if you want, please.
I basically would say, be be consistent, don't give up. That like you'll always face obstacles. Especially, I know young people face a lot of obstacles over the last couple of years because of the pandemic. But really, life is, inshallah, life will be long for them. They just need to be consistent and work hard and overcome obstacles, and take one step at a time. Like climbing a mountain is like that. You can't think of the peak at all times. You have to think of just the step ahead. And if a person's consistent, then they'll accomplish many, many excellent things in their lives.
And your next project, please?
Well, apart from continuing with the Islamic and science videos, the next project is I'm going to take the screenplay that I wrote, and I'm going to, inshallah, adapt it to a novel and then publish it as a novel.
Wow. Great. Thank you so much, our honorable guest, Dr. Gemal. I hope you every success from the screen. They say we hope you success and great opportunity for you and your career and your family. Thank you so much, Dami, for those great encouragement. Thank you so much again, our honorable guest, Dr. Gemal Seede, PhD, author, and a filmmaker. As always, we are very delighted in seeing you more and more in the coming show, because there's a lot of things we can do together, and we hope that we'll be able to translate some of your production into Arabic for our Arabic show as well. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
Good night.
Thanks to all the followers for their comments, especially our sister, great sister, and Professor Zaina Yassin, and for our friend, Mr. Dami. Have a great night. Until we meet again, this is Sayed, wishing you all the best. Have a great one.
Ready to be inspired by the amazing stories of best-selling authors and filmmakers? Afromedia offers an engaging media platform so you can begin